Another day in the NBA here on the Splash Play channel. We're going to do what we always do here, compare to my projections to some of the industry leaders out there, like Stokastic and like our friends at Unabated. Of course, we're going to hop through every single game here, see what the ownership looks like, see what the best plays are, see what the best bets are, courtesy of our friends at Unabated. By the end of this video, you know the must plays for today's NBA slate, February 24th, 2025. Let's get into it. Your Q tag guys for the day. You got Joel Embiid, who it seems like he shouldn't be playing, but he's still listed as questionable. Reports are going around. They're now contemplating the surgery that he basically complained to the media that he feels like he needs to get surgery about 2 weeks ago. Played a bunch of shitty games in between now and then. And now Joel Embiid, questionable today. I have him not in the projection set, but I do have him still kind of in my data sheet right now in case he does somehow play. It'd be a bit of a surprise, but Joel Embiid questionable. Tyrese Maxey questionable right now. If he were out, it would open up one of the best value plays in basketball right now. Jared Butler getting starting minutes there for Philadelphia to be the most likely outcome if Maxey were out. So Tyrese Maxey, key one to know right now. Alex Sarr up a little bit of value for Rashawn Holmes filling in for a Washington team that right now seems like kind of a mess. And those are your key ones. You know, some other players out, your Rudy Gobert's. Some others we're going to talk about as we go here, but that's what we're waiting for news on as of right now, about 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Let's go to my projections, though, and let's sort my ranks out. Of course, I did not do it before the show because I had to scramble to get all the data in that we need to have a good show here. And let's pull it up. All right, top projected players right now. Check the chats. Who do appreciate all the chats. Yes, happy Aloha Friday, everybody except Cole Anthony. And the people were really mad at Cole Anthony. Was he chalk over the weekend? I don't play on the weekends. You guys know that, so I'm not sure if I missed something important there. But top projected players for today: Nikola Jokic, 66.1 fantasy points for me, 67.3 for Stokastic. The big issue for Jokic today is that I have a couple centers that are reasonably well projected. Make it a little bit easier to not get to Jokic at that 12K price tag. That said, if you do get some more value opening up, and even as it is right now, Jokic could be a priority play with 36% of the field being there. I am about half the field, which never feels that good. When it is a little bit easier to get to Jokic to that 12K salary that is on some other slates when he's 12.5, 12.7. We have no value at all. Today we do have some value, so there's a lot of stuff to be important. Oh, there we go. Embiid just rolled out. Okay, so it's already in the data, so that's fine, but important to certainly know for sure. Yeah, so Jokic to me, top projected player here. Unfortunately, I think there's one guy who can be a pivot, and that's going to be James Harden. So you see a pretty big difference between my projection and Stokastic's. The issue, which we've run into basically every day on stream right now, and it's getting to the point where like I almost feel like I don't want to use Stokastic data on stream because they don't update in the middle of the day. They didn't update for Norman Powell being out, Kawhi Leonard being out, as they still have their morning projections with those guys being in. With those two being out, yesterday James Harden about 35 minutes had a slate-breaking performance. Same thing you're expecting here again today with him playing, in my opinion, 37.5 minutes feels about right. The Clippers team at this point, not a lot of bodies, still about an 11-man rotation technically, but they don't really want to play guys like Marion Beauchamp and Kobe Brown. Those guys played in the second half of yesterday's game, but didn't play too much overall. Nick Batum played in the first half of yesterday's game, then didn't play at all in the second half. So they basically have like 3 guys in the rotation, and already in an 11-man rotation they don't want to play. One of the guys is also Drew Eubanks, so they don't really want to play either. So Clippers kind of a shortened group at this point, facing Detroit. And both teams on a back-to-back. I guess it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if Harden were to get ruled out. But as it is right now, Stokastic did not projected right. So I got him in 23% of my lineups. I imagine the number would be a lot higher if the slate would be starting right now. And again, it looks like a great play. Averages 1.5 and change fantasy points per minute without Kawhi and without Norman Powell out there. So really with Powell being out, not being in, Kawhi not being in, and also Kevin Porter Jr. not being on the team anymore, there just isn't another guy who picks up usage. People think Bogdan Bogdanovic is that guy. He doesn't. He actually just doesn't do a lot of anything. Yesterday, again, a game without those guys anyway, without Kawhi, without Norman Powell. You still saw Bogdan Bogdanovic put up about like a 18% usage rate. He just doesn't shoot the ball that much anymore. So would say that at this point for James Harden, really the biggest thing for him is that the Clippers kind of become like old Houston when they have nobody else available, and that's going to be the case today, again, assuming that Harden goes. Not getting to a ton of Jokic with our boy Davion looking like decent. I don't think Davion's actually good value, but I guess we can get there when we get there. SGA, and he's really not my boy. Again, he was my boy as a joke on the deeper dive because of the fact that I mentioned on one stream when Toronto had nobody left in the backcourt that he's a good play. He's not actually a good fantasy player. He's playing about 30 minutes a game, which is fine, but like I know Josh was on him on the strategy show this morning, but it's really like he doesn't do anything. So that's sort of not really the guys I want to play, or generally not guys that don't do a lot. Cade Cunningham, SGA, these guys don't look too playable to me right now, with Harden being cheaper and projecting substantially better. That said, Stokastic might knock the minutes down a little bit further for James Harden than I have him right now, 37.5. So it's one thing to watch out for. It is sort of the little bit of a difference sometimes in a projection versus reality sometimes. James Harden, like, hard to imagine him not playing high 30s minutes here after he played about the same amount of minutes yesterday. Basically, at this point, though, for James Harden, because I'm at 37.5 minutes and you have SGA at 32.9, Cade Cunningham projected for 34. These guys are all like not fully aligned completely because I'm giving Harden more minutes because the fact the Clippers have less guys to go to. So again, if Harden gets less minutes from Stokastic, that might put him at like 34.5. He would come down a little bit, but I imagine I would still have him at about 55 or so. So he would still be the top projected guy of this group with Harden, Cade, and SGA. Trae Young playing well lately, 9.4% for the field. I only got him at 5%. Really, again, you see the big stand on Harden being the main thing here. Tyrese Maxey, 18% for the field, 15% for me. Gets a pretty big boost overall in court time without Joel Embiid. Has averaged 1.3 fantasy points minute, along with 33% usage and a 26% assist rate. Also shot incredibly well without Embiid, about a 61% true shooting. So Maxey to me looks more appealing than Trae Young, than Cade, than SGA as well. But I really think at this point, like, there's a lot of ownership going Maxey's way that I'm kind of matching. I think if you wanted to flatten it out and try to get 5 to 10% of all these guards here of SGA, of Cade, of Trae Young, of Maxey, and try to make them a lever against a probably chalky Harden, and it's probably a reasonable approach to have today if you wanted to go that way. Let's see. We got nothing else really to note up top here. You got some FanDuel slate only guys. Anthony Edwards getting a little bit of a boost without Gobert. Still no Randall, still no DiVincenzo, but kind of priced appropriately in a tough matchup. Hero looking okay. Zubac getting 35% of. Spirits of the field 12. And that again comes down to the fact the Clippers don't have enough bodies right now. But if you wanted to give less minutes to Zubac, you certainly could, because they have a guy in Drew Eubanks they could go to siphon a few minutes away. All right, let's sort this again for value. I'll go game by game. I'll check the chats in a moment as well. All right, value. Here we go. Ty Jerome is my sweet boy who does the best on slates lately where I'm not playing. Faded went with Davion and shooting guard and had Boucher 180 last night. Oh, there you go. Faded Cole Anthony. Good. I'm glad it worked out for you. And John Collins, my real boy. I have a lot of boys. They all go in waves, though, really is what it is. Where I'll have a stretch where I get John Collins every day because it's not appropriately priced. Then when he's appropriately priced, the minutes stabilize. I don't get there as much. Sort of how it goes. But that's, I think, what DFS is and probably what it should be for most people out there. So your guys right now look like top value. Svi Mykhailiuk. So this is a tough one for the Jazz. Jazz today, no Walker Kessler, no Lauri Markkanen, still no Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson out as well. Basically missing John Collins out as well too. So that's basically your normal starting five there. Those guys are all gone right now, or not normal starting five, but has been a normal starting five in recent months for the Jazz. All those guys being out makes it a little bit tough to figure out what the Jazz are going to do. It is your last game on the slate too, so you kind of need to know the starting group. The good news is we do know that those guys aren't going to be playing. The bad news is like Svi Mykhailiuk has normally been the starter when Lauri Markkanen is out, because basically they need kind of a little bit of a longer guy who can shoot some threes. And Svi Mykhailiuk has averaged 1.3 fantasy points a minute in court time without all the Jazz guys who are missing today. It's not a big enough sample size to feel that great about. Actually, to kind of knock his rates down a little bit, because he would have been in every lineup if I kept what his rates are, that 1.3 fantasy points a minute. Basically, Svi, I think, has to start today. If I had to guess, I think your starters are Collier, Sensabaugh, KJ Martin, Svi Mykhailiuk, and then I would think it's probably they don't have Tibwe. They don't have, obviously, they don't have Kessler. They don't have Eubanks anymore. So I think the center would have to be Potter, Juzang, or Filipowski. One of those three. My guess would be Filipowski if I had to pick one, but it's going to be one of those three. Keontae George probably not starting. I would think he comes off the bench. He could start, but he came off the bench yesterday, so that's how it looks. Yeah, Filipowski probably the most likely one, but it's definitely one of those three. Point being for Svi, like I assume that he starts here. There's a chance that they could not start him. They could start Micah Potter and Filipowski. They could start Juzang and Filipowski. I think is still most likely there. There's a couple different ways it could break. So I would say to watch out for that right now. For me, Svi Mykhailiuk, though, does grade out pretty well. And again, Stokastic didn't update their data, so I can't answer this question for you. But I gave Filipowski about 25 minutes, I think. I gave him 26 minutes. I gave Sensabaugh the same 24.9 he would have had. Gave Steve Mikhailiuk 26.5, which you could see here. Gave Juzang 25, gave KJ Martin 29, because I think that's basically what he played yesterday, and his role should be the same as sort of the three-man there. So basically, I think your big winners are probably Steve Mikhailiuk in terms of minutes and in terms of Filipowski, but Juzang could start, so just keep that in mind here later on in the day. Right now, Mikhailiuk to me looks pretty good, and as I mentioned, he's been your biggest winner overall with marketing off the court. Amir Coffey here. So Amir Coffey, not a player we like very much, but he has 4K, played mid-30s minutes yesterday. Would have been on pace, rather, to play mid-30s minutes yesterday. The game didn't get out of hand. So Coffey here, basically the Clippers have kind of a tightened rotation with the flexibility to play some other guys, but it's likely going to be as it was yesterday. Let's actually pull up the popcorn machine, because I think this is going to be worth looking into right now. This is not the right one, is it? Yeah, no, hold on. I got to refresh popcorn machine. All right, Clippers, where are you at? So Clippers on a back-to-back, so keep that in mind here. Basically, you had Derek Jones, Chris Dunn, Amir Coffey, and Zubac, along with Harden, playing the majority of the rotation. Then some of these guys got back in at the end of the fourth quarter. They were basically kind of down a lot against the Pacers, and then started to switch things up a little bit, where Zubac played a quick stint, they took him out. Derek Jones played a quick stint, they took him out. Tried to go a little bit smaller, I guess, or actually not sure they even went smaller, really, because they brought in Eubanks and Simmons. Point being was that they were kind of dead in the water, tried to get it right, couldn't get it right, so the guys played a shortened rotation. But I would expect it to be mostly Coffey, Zubac, Dunn, Jones, Harden as your main group today. And then they can get a little bit more minutes, they can get a little bit less if they're not playing well. The team starts to go south. Basically, that's what the Clippers rotation is right now. So Amir Coffey, theoretically one of your winners here, can also play in the blowout like he did in that game yesterday. You saw him getting that end of fourth quarter run on popcorn machine. Amir Coffey has a couple different outs here. He's not very good as the downside, but I do think he plays probably 30-plus minutes and more likely mid-30s minutes. Keontae George, still a good value for him, even though he's coming off the bench. He does play a lot of minutes, but I think 50 fantasy points yesterday for himself coming off the bench as well. The main thing for him is he puts up about 30% usage off the bench. Actually gave him a lower rate today just to properly reflect the court time with all the guys that aren't available. Still looks more than good enough here at 6,500. So he's your guy in the thumbnail here. He's the one that I am smiling at. I feel like I look like a cat on the thumb. I don't know why me smiling. It reminds me of a cat smiling, which I don't know that anybody else will feel the same way. But anyway, not a cat. I am a human being. Similar demeanor, perhaps. Point being, Keontae George, one of your best plays in the day. I got him in 58% of my top 150 lineups. Fields at 30% right now. That could go up and probably should go up with the Jazz guys being out. And that in particular, obviously, Kessler and Markkanen, who were in Stokastic's data set, but not in mine. Johnny Juzang, we talked about here. Gave him about 25 minutes. He'll look good. If he picks up the start, he's going to look good. If he doesn't, he'll look a little bit less good. Anything that's going to be the same as every other NBA DFS slate we've ever talked about. We got the Mad Hatter. Okay. Sure. James Harden, a top value for me here. Again, giving a pretty aggressive minutes projection. KJ Martin at 3,900. He'll be out there. He won't do a whole lot, but he's probably the one most guaranteed starter minutes besides Isaiah Collier. So for the Jazz, KJ Martin looking like an okay play here. Ownership, you kind of got to throw out because he just wasn't in the lineup pool enough because how Stokastic doesn't update their data midday anymore. Vika Zubac, a top value. Sensabaugh, top value. Dyson Daniels, a top value for me. Getting him in 44% of my top 150 compared to the field's 15%. Quentin Grimes, a top value as well. A guy playing, a projected to play about mid-30s minutes here. Playing pretty well. You're going to have a pretty chalky ownership, it seemed, at least based on the ownership run from this morning for Kelly Oubre. Grimes hurts Oubre quite a bit. And frankly, Oubre himself has not been that good on the year, averaging about 0.8 fantasy points a minute. I would say if you're going to go to Grimes today instead of Oubre, that could be a clever thing to do. And Trenton Watford, shortened rotation for the Nets. So Watford looking okay here. 37% of my top 150 compared to the field's 27%. This is all going to move around, though, in a little bit. So we'll keep it around. The cat's the Cheshire Cat. The Cheshire Cat is the cat. The Mad Hatter is like the short guy. That's why I was confused by it, but I am wearing a mad hat. So I guess you can see how it would go. Guys, we're going to go game by game here. If you want the data that I show you on the sheet, technically a different version of it because I don't put in stochastic stuff because that's probably not right. But basically, this is what you would get here. If you want to get it for yourself, join down below. $5 tier, you're supporting the channel, you get a VIP Discord. $25 a month to get the data that I show you here on screen. As people who are on the Discord right now, we're paying so far. I think we got about 5 to 10 members so far. I haven't paid close enough attention. Those guys see the updates I put in basically the entire night long. Whenever I'm updating my lineups throughout the night, I do update the data, push it. Then on Discord, I put an alert out saying, data's been updated, so you know. That's the process here. So if you want what I'm showing you on screen right now, get it for yourself. Join down below. And of course, it does support the channel, which is really helpful for me. And it does support you because you get access to my data every day. If you want the projections to export too, there's a higher tier for that. If you want to check it out, hit the join button down below no matter what, because it does support content like this continuing on. Denver, 125.3 implied points. And also make sure to subscribe and like. I should probably do that too. Please subscribe, like, all that. We're so close to 1,000 subs, so please help us get there at this point. The promotion today, I feel like when there's a lot going on in terms of my brain preparing for a slate, I do a less good job of promotion. Today, my brain is swimming, so please give me grace and subscribe anyway. Hit the like button, leave a comment. It goes a long way for me here. Just one guy running an NBA channel, running an NFL channel, trying to keep them both afloat with the best data possible here every single day. And of course, Unabated, 20% off, unabated.com/NBA, promo code SPLASH. Link in the description, go check it out. Some good deals going. Actually, talk to you guys later on about a Stokastic deal, but we'll save that. But we'll just bitch about them not hitting their projections in the meantime. Denver, 125.3 implied points. Nikola Jokic, as I mentioned, 2x the field for me here. I'm happy to get more. I just think that there are centers out there that project well enough. You can move away from Jokic. That said, when I get to my lineups today, I might force things a little bit more to get closer to the field on Jokic. So we are where we are right now, but basically a lot of ownership for Jokic as it is. And as value opens up, it's going to be even easier to get to Jokic on the slate. So just keep that in mind. In a pace-up spot here, or not a pace-up spot, but a high-pace spot versus Indiana. Technically the slightest of a pace down, but both teams around a 100 pace. Fast teams, good total here at the 125 implied points. Jokic looks like a great play today. And if you want to try to get leverage on him, Jamal Murray under 5% known projects terribly, but sometimes Jamal Murray scoops a 50-point day out of nowhere, and that hurts Jokic directly. If he does put up 50 real-life points, 40 real-life points, that pulls directly away from Jokic. Less assists, most likely for Jokic. Obviously, less scoring for Jokic at that point. So Jamal Murray here, you want to try to get leverage. I think that's your way to do it. Porter Jr., similar case here, but nobody's playing Murray. People will be at least playing Porter about 5%, including me. Aaron Gordon, 15% of my top 150. No real big stands here, though. They all look okay. Jokic is your priority, obviously, but will also be the field's priority, so keep that in mind. Indiana here, we got 121 implied points. Again, back-to-back for Indiana. So spot here, not a bad one overall, but as usually the case, I just don't get a lot of pacers in these situations. Halliburton priced at 8K, not the guy for me. 9% for the field, I'm getting 1. Siakam, 12% of the field, I'm getting 4. If I'm going to play one guy, it'd be Miles Turner, but I am a little bit under the field on him as well, getting about 7% compared to the field's 8. Nembhard, I'm going to get 9%. He's just kind of cheap, and point guard, shooting guard to 5,100. These guys pop in a lineup sometimes because they make your lineups work. You need to fill out somebody there. It's going to give you some amount of floor and a projection. It's really all Nembhard gives you. But 0.9 fantasy points a minute today in my projection. So Nembhard looks okay, but Indiana to me, not really a team to prioritize. But with how much Jokic is going to be out there, if you were to run a Jokic back with the Halliburton, Siakam, Turner to a lesser extent, that's definitely one way to get unique on your Jokic lineup. So maybe give a boost if you play Jokic to play, give a 10% projection boost. If you're using an optimizer like the Solver, give a boost to Halliburton, give a boost to Siakam, and lineups where Jokic is in it. Just one thought. Clippers, not a great total here with 110 implied points. Detroit at 111.5. Detroit had a tough game yesterday, but I mean, Cade Cunningham was good, but like that was a high-paced spot. Both teams putting up 150 points. Cade playing high 30s here. Yesterday, the Clippers got to pull their guys early, as we saw in Popcorn Machine, because they were getting smoked by the Pacers. So for Harden here, I think that he should be good to go, be able to play these mid to high 30s minutes, getting him at 23% right now. I imagine it's going to be higher. As I mentioned, Stokastic didn't update their data, so they didn't have Kawhi out. Didn't have Norman Powell out. As a result, okay, I appreciate that. I'm not going to update midstream here. So Harden at this point, I think will look a little bit higher owned when Stokastic updates their stuff. As it is right now, I think he should be played to me about 50% of lineups feels right. And then I think the ownership will be like 25 to 30 would be my guess. But Harden, I think, looks pretty good. I have really no thoughts on Nesmith. I don't like the Pacers very much. Nesmith, his price has come up a little bit. He's 3,900. You want to play him, you can. He's a 4.9x value, but he's just a guy. There are better value plays on the slate. There's likely to be even better ones later on. That's like the exact opposite play of usually what you'd want to do in a slate like this, where the Jazz are going to have some very clearly defined value as starters. So you play Nesmith in the first game and lose your flexibility is like not really the way to play DFS, but follow your heart. For the Clippers here, though, Harden, big priority. Zubac, a pretty good priority as well, getting 3x the field. I imagine that could come up as well for the field's ownership and for mine. Chris Dunn should come up a little bit, getting about mid-30s minutes would be my guess. Amir Coffey getting mid-30s minutes. I'm probably more aggressive on minutes projection than Stokastic will be. I think they'll put these guys at like 32, 33 maybe. But this was the rotation yesterday. Like it was like a really tight rotation that until the team got their ass kicked, they didn't really move away from. So I think it's going to be tight again here, as I mentioned, with Harden, Zubac, Dunn, Coffey, and into a lesser extent and Jones. They feel like I think they want to give less minutes to him, potentially in bad spots, give more to Bogdan. But really nothing looks that great to me here. Even with me goosing the projections a good amount. Detroit on their side, I've got nothing, so we can just skip through here. Cade Cunningham, again, price tag at 10.5. I have no issue with it, but just doesn't project that well for me overall. Jalen Duren, he's had good days lately. You want to chase it, you certainly can. I would think the matchup versus Zubac gives him a shot to at least compete for rebounds. But Zubac, I think they played really, like that was a tough game. When you have two teams putting up like almost 150 each in Detroit, Atlanta, I think you spent a lot on the court yesterday. It's how I feel about Detroit in that situation. So really to me, like I don't have a basketball case to love these guys in a pace down spot versus, a low pace Clippers team that plays good defense. But you can go here. These guys are low owned, so knock yourself out. Chicago getting 114.5 on their side. For Chicago, a lot of ownership coming here. Nikola Vucevic, 27% ownership going his way. I am lower than Stokastic, still got him in 35% of my top 150 lineups. Alonzo Ball, 40% of the field expected to go here. That's got to come down a little bit. But playing about 30 minutes with Ayo Dosunmu out feels like a pretty good number for him. Got the contract extension. He's played pretty well in the year at 0.9 fantasy points a minute. Rates still take a big enough increase without Dosunmu and without Levine was the rates that I ran. For Lonzo, I'll pull him up here. Lonzo's average 0.87 fantasy points a minute without Dosunmu and without Levine on the court. So actually, it's been a slightly worse player than he would be normally, which is kind of odd to see. I don't really know why that would be. Josh Giddey's actually been your best guy with Dosunmu and Levine off the court. His average 1.4 fantasy points a minute. Vucevic, another guy who gets worse, averages 1.1 without those guys. As talked about before, when Levine is out, Vucevic gets worse. Levine and Dosunmu getting out. Dosunmu is kind of a more generous distributor at guard. I think Vucevic is suffering for that as well. So I would give a little bit of a caution flag here if you're going to throw a lot of Vucevic in the lineups tonight, because his rates just don't really support that. He becomes a worse player overall while those guys out. Besides that, again, a lot of ownership going here to Lonzo and Vucevic. Kevin Huerter, I just don't see with a 23-minute projection why 30% of the field will be there. I imagine that's got to move around a little bit. He's cheap at 3,600, but that Jazz value is like infinitely better. I don't think this ownership holds for these guys quite as much. Vucevic, though, about 25% ownership feels, I think, where that'll land. That's basically it. Trey Jones, I feel like if people are going to play Huerter, if that ownership somehow holds, play Trey Jones. Hope he's more efficient. Maybe gets a few more minutes if like Lonzo doesn't play 30. I think that's a possibility. He's actually been a pretty good producer on the year. The Bulls so far, he's averaged, I believe, 0.94 fantasy points a minute for himself in 131 possessions. So that's one way to try to get different here if the Huerter ownership holds. But these guys, to me, I think are all kind of okay values. If you get Huerter, you get Trey Jones, whatever. Zach Collins getting more minutes because of Jalen Smith being out. He's an okay value. Nothing looks that great here. It is a low-paced matchup here going against a Philadelphia team, losing about 6.5 possessions. Philly just too slow. Philly on their side, 119 implied points. The matchup here, technically a big pace up. With Embiid now officially being out, the projections already had that anyway. Maxey looking pretty good. 18% of the field will be there. Paul George, I am not with. So Paul George has been a disaster. I think if you want to go there today, you can. If 30% of the field is going to go to a guy who feels a little bit broken, who also is frankly just not getting shots up at a good enough rate, his usage actually goes down at court time without Joel Embiid. And then Grimes being there kind of hurts the impact a little bit for Paul George as well. Oubre is going to get his shots up today. If Paul George is going to be 30% owned, I don't think there's any value in going there. If you had this much ownership going to everybody else and none to Paul George, then great. And I don't think the field will play like 30% Paul George. I think they know he sucks. They don't like playing him. But at this point here, I feel like these guys, a lot of ownership coming at this point. My favorite guy, I think, would be Grimes relative to the ownership. Like, he gets good run. His rates have actually been nuts without Embiid on the court. Actually had to keep those rates off and keep them at his normal season-long stuff because he's putting up like 1.2 fantasy points a minute with Embiid off the court for I don't know what reason that would be for Quentin Grimes. But really, to me, these guys are all like Paul George, Grimes, Oubre. They're all very similar plays, and I don't know why Oubre would be 58% and Grimes would be 23%. It's a pretty big leap there. For Brooklyn and Stokastic updated there. So you want to check out the minutes. We'll have an updated sim coming up here. For right now, we're going to run with my data as it is. Brooklyn, we've got 110 implied points here. Washington 107. Brooklyn missing D'Angelo Russell today at this point. Brooklyn keeps winning games. They're like a not bad defense, just a really shitty offense overall. Everybody here looks kind of playable to me. Cam Johnson, kind of playable. Nick Claxton, kind of playable. Keon Johnson, like they're all kind of playable here because it is a pace-up spot versus Washington. Washington, not very good. Total itself is not great here, but you're looking at a 10-man rotation today with the guys they have unavailable and their guys in the G League. You want to take shots on Brooklyn guys? I get it. I don't know why Trent Watford would be the high man here. Like, he just works okay, I guess, at a $4,700 salary. But that feels like one to me that, I mean, I do him project for 1.1 fantasy points a minute today, so maybe I'm missing something here. He's probably absorbing a lot of the peripherals, would be my guess, because he does rebound a good clip, does assist at a good clip, and you have no point guards left. That's a lot of Trent Watford ownership. Would I cap myself to 2.6? I don't do caps like that. If I were going to cap anything, maybe max 2 of George, Grimes, and Oubre. But like the only thing you do a cap for is like if a guy is going to potentially pull minutes away from your player. So like let's say you really want to make sure that all your players you have in a lineup generally, and you can play some bench guys if they're really good producers, but like mostly you want guys who are going to close. So like that's the goal. It's been a thing that was like really important in DFS. People don't talk about as much in content from what I've seen. Something that shit my money, and Josh had always said to me when I was at Stokastic, and like that's been an important thing that I've tried to remember more so this year, especially because it's one of those things you kind of forget when you have projections and all that. But like you're trying to get guys that close. So like if you think that only 2 of like Grimes and Oubre and Paul George can close, then you only want to say get max 2 out of that group of 3. But like I wouldn't make groups normally unless it's like, I don't know. It's like guys competing for the same slice of pie, basically, is really the way to look at it. And in particular, like the court time. Washington 107 implied points here. We got nothing here that stands out too much. Sarr is a Q tag right now. If Sarr are out, Rashawn Holmes would look maybe okay at 4,900, not look great. Vukovic would get a little more interesting perhaps at 3,900 here. Guy that does fill it up with 1.26 fantasy points per minute. I would have him at 1.3 today if he plays any minutes. If he gets Sarr out, I think he would look a little bit better. But because you have Middleton in today, because you have Smart in today, the entire rotation is a little bit crowded. So Washington, not a great total, pace down spot, at least a league average Brooklyn defense. Enough looks that good. Stokastic's top 7 ROI lineup has 4 Sixers in it. So there you go. But there we go. So that's Washington for you. Not a lot to look at there. Miami, we got 115 implied points here. Tyler Hero, big outlier day yesterday. Still looks good to me again today. 45 projection for me compared to Stokastic's 43.4. Also getting Hero on 11% of lineups. The field's at 13, so not really a big anti-stand, basically with the field on him. Adebayo, I'm low on. Field's only at 5% though. Wiggins, I'm getting double of. The rates for him have been a little bit better in Miami. Nikola Jovic being out helps out a little bit for them as well. Just one guy who does, kind of a little bit of everything in every category. That means the stats get redistributed for Miami. So Wiggins playing 34 minutes of the projection set here. I think he looks pretty good. I have him at 1.06 fantasy points per minute today. But these guys to me on Miami, all kind of appropriately like priced. Davion Mitchell on 3.6 fantasy points lower on Stokastic is, and his rates at Miami have actually been worse than they were in Toronto. So I don't think Davion Mitchell's actually valued, despite what Josh might have said. But he's going to be a starter, and he probably closes. So by that metric, I guess you could play him. But to me, it looks like an awful projection play at a 4.1x value. Atlanta on their side, Trae Young looks okay to me. Actually, I have him a little bit higher than Stokastic, but only getting 5% of my top 150. Dyson Daniels getting a lot more. Daniels is really your big winner from not having Hunter, from not having Bogdanovich, not having whoever the third name, I'm forgetting, Jalen Johnson out there. I think the issue with Dyson Daniels is like if Trae Young has a good day, Daniels is more likely to fail. But Daniels is 6,900. I'm going to be taking that shot a lot today, getting in 44% of my top 150. And I'll be mindful of that, I think, when I put my final lineups in, because I know I'm going to get a lot of Dyson Daniels. But I would say if you want to fade me directly today, play Trae Young and don't play Dyson Daniels. If you want to go with me, play Dyson Daniels and probably play a little bit less Trae Young. Okongwu looks okay to be 22% here. Niang getting him at 15%. His rate's been pretty good since joining the Hawks. These guys to me look okay. I guess the one I wouldn't play is Karis LeVert. So that's really your low owned option here to maybe get leverage on these guys all being about 10 to 15% owned. But I don't mind the Hawks today. Again, they played pretty tough versus Detroit yesterday. That was not an easy effort in that game. A lot of points put up on both sides. So just keep that in mind if you play Hawks. But everybody's on a back-to-back for the most part today, so you're not really losing a lot going to Hawks as compared to another slate where you have like 1 or 2 teams on a back-to-back. Minnesota, 108.3 implied points. No-go Bear here today. Still no Julius Randle. Still no DiVincenzo. Doesn't look that good, though, because of the matchup with Thunder, where it is a little bit of a pace up, but a tough team total here. A 108.3 implied points for Minnesota. Getting less in the field of Anthony Edwards, 7% for the field, 3% for me. Less of Naz Reid, less of Jaden McDaniels. I gave these guys the minutes update today because Stokastic had an update before the show. So push these guys' minutes up to a little bit more conservative than like the 39-ish they played yesterday. Guys like Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels did. You can go here. I think people are going to chase because Naz Reid had a good game versus OKC a couple times now. I don't think the projections support it that much is the one thing I would really warn against. If Jalen Clark is out, he had a neck injury yesterday. That would help. He's a Q tag right now. If Clark were out, you open up more minutes for Terrence Shannon, who's going to be a comparable producer. Would think you get maybe a little more for Dillingham, Alexander Walker. There's a risk that Conley and Clark could sit today, so watch out for news here. Frankly, wouldn't shock me if Ant sat in the back-to-back if you start missing a few too many guys. So this one could be a newsy one I'd watch out for. 12-point spread to me really doesn't even feel like Ant playing today. Not a great spread. For OKC, and not a great total here for Minnesota. For OKC, 120.3 implied points. Nothing here looks that great to me besides Hartenstein giving him 30 minutes with having no Chet Holmgren today. He's out for the back-to-back. At this point for OKC, if you wanted to play SGA, you could, and I wouldn't have an issue with it besides projection looking kind of shitty, but he's certainly got the upside. Jalen Williams getting 5% of him, technically above the field, but not a big stand. Just not a great play for me here overall. In our last game on the DK slate, Portland, 119 implied points. No DeAndre Ayton again. I'm not getting Jeremy Grant with the field. Have him lower projected by 2 fantasy points. Avdia, I'm low on pretty much all these guys here. 14% of Avdia for me, 11% for Kamara, 19% of Jeremy Grant. Not a bad matchup versus Utah. Not a bad total for Portland. I feel like I should get more than I am getting of these guys. So you want to go with the field, you can. I don't know why you want 30% Jeremy Grant, though. The price tag's not bad at 5,200. Like a ceiling day from Avdia, I think would hurt that. Kamara playing well would sort of hurt Grant's output a little bit. I just don't think Grant, if he were that chalky, would hold up. I don't take other people's bits. I've never done Nuke of the Night on any piece of content I've done besides when we have to do it sometimes on those shows. And even though I'm not really supposed to do them, it's a live before lock thing. So no, I don't. I appreciate you asking. I just don't do other people's bits. Unless being forced to live on a show. Utah, 112.5 implied points here. We talked about here missing Collins, missing Markkanen, missing Kessler, missing Clarkson, missing Sexton. I think I named everybody there. Missing Collins, if I missed that. You get whatever Jazz guys you want, I think. I expect Filipowski, Collier, Sensabaugh, Mikhailuk, KJ Martin, and I think that was, and then something else. No, I think that's your starting group there. It could be a little bit different, though, so this is tough because it's the last game of the slate. Keontae George is going to play big minutes off the bench no matter what. He's going to look pretty good. So really, to me, you want to play Keontae George, I'm going to play him a lot. If I was one of those guys, I'll say it again. If I'd have him in 0 of my lineups or 100%, I would take him 100%. I think he looks pretty good here. I chose him as a thumbnail this morning. It's only gotten better for him with guys getting ruled out. So Keontae George, don't worry when he doesn't start because he's probably not going to start, but he'll still play good minutes off the bench no matter what. And that's it. Sensabaugh, getting a lot of Sensabaugh. I think it's going to flatten out a little bit here because Mikhailuk wasn't in the projection set. But Mikhailuk, to me, assuming that he does start, I think he is your player that people aren't going to realize is going to be very good today, most likely, because he's been good pretty much every time Markkanen has been out and he's got real minutes. But that is the slate right now in the game by game. That means it's time to go to our friends at Unabated, see what the best bets are right now. You need to learn about Unabated's conditional NBA projections thanks to this special video I'm going to tune you on to right now. Unabated, Justin Fan and his team, they're doing expert NBA projections every day and different ones that you're getting some other sites. So if you're looking for just an easy way to get unique on DFS slates, Unabated's projections are one way to do that. Frankly, they're just not being played enough by the field, and what I know from these guys, I think not enough people are paying for them where it matters. So you don't want to pay for my projections, pay for Unabated to get good results. Real-time NBA news, you don't want to be on Twitter, don't want to be on Blue Sky. You can go on there and get your news alerts right on the dashboard, looking at betting markets all day. And of course, graphs for every situation, graphs for every occasion. You guys know the deal here. We love the graphs. How can we live without graphs? That's what I ask myself. Expert day, game day live streams. They do those 2 or 3 times a week. Chats, all sorts of good stuff.
You know the crowd is ready. Get ready.
And that's Unabated for you. Unabated.com/NBA. Use promo code SPLASH to get in there. So the login took me a little bit longer than I would have hoped for. Let's show you guys the results you would have if you were betting on Unabated every day here. 30 minutes before tip-off using all their data. Why is it not going to the home screen? Go back to the home screen. I'll show the graph. So you'd be up right now a little bit over $40,000 if you're betting all the 5% or higher edges, $100 units. So you can math it down. If you're playing $10 units, it'd be about 4K. But Unabated really is great data run by a professional betting team. The kind of people that you would see yelling at somebody on one of those elf Twitter streams, if you guys are following that world at all, where it's just sharp bettors yelling at idiots every day and then idiots yelling back. And it's fucking really one of my least favorite pieces of content that I have to keep seeing on my For You page and I get sucked into. But check out Unabated. Really are great tools on there. Only $499 for the rest of the season. And you get a little bit of a discount if you use promo code SPLASH. So click the link in the description down below. It'll take you over Unabated and you'll do a lot better in betting if you tail their stuff every day. Let's pull in these conditional projections now. Your Q-Tag guys with different projection sets. Jalen Clark, Tyrese Maxey, Alex Sarr. Those are the only ones that matter right now. Let's sim this out here. Idiots yelling back is so sad. That is true. As a black man, it's not lost to me that a white guy won the slam dunk and 3-point contest during Black History Month. Well, yeah, that's they feel like I'm not the one to make any more jokes on top of that, but I'm sure that's tough. All right, trying to sort this here. Make sure we got all the bets in. We probably don't have them all in. Scrolling all the way down because that's sometimes what you have to. You're looking for a little hack on how to use Unabated and get all the results in and sort correctly. Scroll down. Your top bet right now for points would be Malik Beasley under 16.5 points. The lower on Underdog is actually your highest EV bet, 16.6% EV for Malik Beasley, lower on 16.5 points. DraftKings Sportsbook, you're getting 8.3% EV, and FanDuel, you could take it as well for under 15.5 on there. But Underdog and DraftKings would look best for Malik Beasley under 15.5 points, or on Underdog under 16 or lower than 16.5 points. We got Mo Gay here. Get Mo Gay with me with over 4.5 points, the higher on Underdog today, 11.7% EV. Also good to go on PrizePicks, same over 4.5 on there. Not available on DraftKings, but is available on FanDuel for Mo Gay, over 4.5 points. That guy loves to get shots up, so I don't hate that at all. We got Obi Toppin under 10.5 points here. Lower on Underdog looks the best, getting 11.7% EV on there. So Underdog is not yet updated for the Unabated data. So go grab some Underdog lines before they quickly use that data and shut these down. DraftKings under 10.5 points for Obi Toppin looking good as well. And Obi Toppin under 9.5 on FanDuel looking playable. So Obi Toppin, good on PrizePicks, best on Underdog, good on DraftKings, good on FanDuel. Clint Capella over 6.5 points. You're looking good for 11.3% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 115 odds on there, over 6.5. You can also take the higher on 6.5 for Clint Capella on Underdog, and that's it. So FanDuel and Underdog, Clint Capella over 6.5 points. Cade Cunningham under 26.5. As I mentioned, the guy put it all on the line. Really feels like a classic letdown spot here versus the Clippers, but Cade's been good. Pistons were on a win streak now, so whatever. But under 26.5 points, projections are projections. 9.7% EV on DraftKings, where it's minus 110 odds for Cade under 26.5. You can bet it on PrizePicks and Underdog if you want, where it's lower on 26.5 on those sites. And DraftKings Sportsbook here is your best one, but FanDuel's still playable. So grand slam, every book here we look at. Underdog, PrizePicks, DraftKings, and FanDuel. Cade Cunningham under 26.5 points if you can get it. Russell Westbrook under 12.5 points. Good to go on PrizePicks and Underdog. We're getting 9.7% EV on both. DraftKings 8.8% EV for under 12.5 points for Westbrook. And FanDuel, another grand slam under 12.5. You can take it on every book for Russell Westbrook under 12.5 points today. And Duncan Robinson under 9.5 points, 8.4% EV for you if you take it on PrizePicks. Also bettable on DraftKings and FanDuel, where it's over 5% EV there for both. But under 9.5 points for Duncan Robinson, looking good on PrizePicks, DraftKings, and FanDuel. Rebounds coming up next year. Of course, a DFS sim coming up too to close out the video. And I'll be hopping on the deeper dive on Stokastic's channel at 5 p.m. Eastern. So lots coming up here. Watch the video, hit the like button, and subscribe, please. It does go a long way. And let's pull in some bets and see what we got here. Everything's simming out. Of course, Unabated using 10,000 sims in real time here, using their data and standard deviations. Your best rebound bet looks like DeMar DeRozan. 14.5% EV for you on PrizePicks for DeMar DeRozan under 4 rebounds. You can take DeRozan on DraftKings as well, under 4.5 on there. Gets you 9.9% EV. And FanDuel under 3.5 rebounds for DeRozan at plus 118 odds gets you 11.7% EV. So DeMar DeRozan under 4 rebounds, under 4.5. Under 3.5, look all good here, but you can't get an underdog. Underdog, see, again, they love killing the unabated lines pretty fast. Kevin Huerter here, under 3.5 on PrizePicks for rebounds. 11.7% EV on that one is your best bet. Probably don't want it on DraftKings and FanDuel. 4% EV is bettable, but we can do better. Dennis Schroeder, under 1.5 rebounds here, plus 135 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's 11.4% EV, but not available anywhere else. So Schroeder only on DraftKings under 1.5 rebounds. Yusuf Nurkic, your late game, under 7.5 rebounds for him, plus 102 odds on FanDuel, gets you 10.6% EV. And bettable on DraftKings as well, under 7.5 for Nurkic there at plus 100, 9.5% EV. Not your pick'em sites, though, for Nurkic. Don't take it on there. Malik Beasley, under 2.5 rebounds. Good to go on PrizePicks and Underdog. That's giving you 8.7% EV. And DraftKings as well, you can take Beasley under 2.5 rebounds as well at minus 125 odds. Onyeka Okongwu, under 9.5 rebounds. Good to go on PrizePicks and Underdog. We're getting 8.1% EV on those. And you can take it on FanDuel as well, where it's 7.3% EV for under 9.5 rebounds for Onyeka Okongwu. And Mo Gay here one more time, 8.1% EV on over 3 rebounds. That's only available on PrizePicks. It's been pulled from everywhere else. Assists coming up next. Mac McClung made 3 times more money from those dunk contests than he does his entire NBA career. It's kind of unfair that he doesn't get minutes. Like, I know he'd be a shitty defender, and the Magic are certainly not a team that, well, they really don't need any usage at this point if Banchero and Wagner are in. But it is kind of odd they just don't play him at all. Like, it feels like he should be on like a tanking team and should be playing a lot of minutes because people would probably buy a ticket just to see him like put up pretty decent stats and play shitty defense. We get some cool dunks. Really just a bad fit for him to be on like a competitive team that also like really cares about defense, because that's just not, it's not the bag for old Mac. Your assist bets that look the best right now, according to Unabated data. Of course, again, link in the description, 20% off at Unabated. Aaron Gordon over 3.5 assists, 22.4% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook at minus 105 odds. You can also take Aaron Gordon on PrizePicks over 3.5 assists on there. And FanDuel as well, 18.2% EV. So Aaron Gordon, Underdog killed the line, but PrizePicks, DraftKings, and Underdog, and FanDuel rather. Aaron Gordon over 3.5 assists looking good. Tim Hardaway Jr., his dad is feuding with Tyrese Halliburton because I guess Eddie Jones once fucked his wife. So take Tim Hardaway Jr. here. Well, he's relevant in the news. Under 1.5 assists for Tim Hardaway Jr. plus 100 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook gets you 14.5% EV. And if you missed that on Twitter over the weekend, that probably came off as really bizarre to bring up. And it was like fucking so viral because Halliburton like tweeted back at Tim Hardaway Jr. like, "Oh, why do you hate me like that, Tim?" And I thought, like, initially I was like, is this like a gay joke? Like, is he saying that he's gay? And like, it's like, no, it's because his uncle Eddie Jones fucked Tim Hardaway Jr.'s wife in the Heat. And that's why the Heat in that era, the morning Hardaway Heat, apparently that's why they broke up. So I didn't know that was a thing. I feel like I missed that news item back in the day in the old Deadspin, etc. days, perhaps. Derek Jones here, assist bets. Derek Jones, 12% EV on PrizePicks and Underdog. You take over 0.5 assists for him. As I mentioned, I do think he should get a few more minutes today. He got pulled in the third quarter yesterday. Basically didn't get any more minutes after that or any real minutes after that. But like, if he plays well, he'll stay out there. So Derek Jones, 28 minutes of the projection from Unabated. Just has to get 1 assist today on PrizePicks and Underdog. LaMelo Ball in your late game under 6.5 assists. Good to go on FanDuel where it's plus 116 odds. Give you 11.7% EV. You can also bet LaMelo Ball under 7 assists on PrizePicks, and that'll get you 10.9% EV today. Dennis Schroeder under 3.5 assists on PrizePicks, looking good, 11.4% EV. Same thing on Underdog. DraftKings Sportsbook, 10.6% EV, and FanDuel actually a grand slam here for Schroeder. Under 3.5 assists for Schroeder anywhere you can get it. Tyrese Halliburton under 9.5 assists today, minus 118 odds on FanDuel look the best. Gets you 10.6% EV, but actually same EV on PrizePicks and Underdog too, and DraftKings is bettable. So Halliburton today under 9.5 assists, available on all these books, and get them if you can get it. Deadspin was one of my favorite sites back in the day. I mean, I had a blog back in the day where like I initially was like, oh, I'd love to get on Gawker. And then I ended up turning that into Guyism instead. So a bit of a more of a Barstool path for me that ended up leading me actually to Barstool, but I would have been okay with Deadspin. When they came all like super lib and everything was like through that prism, I think they kind of lost me. But like the Mansi Teo and like the reporting days, the Will Leach days, I thought were all, peak writing content on the internet. They were good at video content though. That was their issue. Or podcasts, like always really, really bad at that stuff. Trey Jones under 3.5 assists. Good to go on PrizePicks, not anywhere else. So Trey Jones under 3.5 assists. Your Bulls guy, who I think, again, is leverage against old Kevin Huerter today, but whatever. Fade him there. And last but not least, our PRAs bets on Unabated, and it will hop to the world of Stokastic Run 1 Sim. Of course, it's going to be on the deeper dive in a moment as well, so stay tuned for that. Let's see what we got. Let's pull in all the lines. Scroll back up to the top. Now you see nothing. All right, hold on. I did see the Steve Smith thing. I don't even know what to say about that one, but Steve Smith married to a woman who's like a prettier version of the lady that he cheated on. That guy going to social media with it is like kind of embarrassing too, but he's mad. He's big mad. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's tough. Getting cheated on is not fun especially if you have a kid, like a shitty on all sides. But Steve Smith's just an athlete. I don't know. That's what athletes do. Obi Toppin under 17.5 PRAs. I don't know how to frame it any better. Just athletes are going to bang anything. Like that's it's even marching band women for the Ravens who are not that attractive. Obi Toppin under 17.5 PRAs. Though that's just me. That's my personal belief. Obi Toppin under 17.5 PRAs, looking good as a lower on Underdog, playable on PrizePicks, playable on DraftKings as well. For Obi Toppin under 17.5 PRAs, or under 16.5 on PrizePicks and DraftKings. Tyler Hero under 39.5 PRAs, 14.2% EV for you on Underdog, 11.4% EV on PrizePicks, under 39 PRAs there, and under 38.5 looking good as well. So Hero's got different prices everywhere, but Hero on DraftKings, on FanDuel, on Underdog, and PrizePicks, under 39, under 38.5. They all look okay relative to their various pricings. Russell Westbrook, 13.96% EV. Let's just call it 14% EV on under 22 PRAs for him on PrizePicks today. Still bettable on Underdog under 21.5 there. DraftKings, it looks okay. FanDuel looks okay. So Westbrook under on PRAs, anywhere you can get it as well. Tyrese Halliburton, we got under 31.5 PRAs, 12.3% EV. Good on PrizePicks and Underdog as well, where it is a lower 6.8% EV. DraftKings looks okay under 31.5 PRAs for Halliburton. So fading Halliburton and a bunch of different bet types today with unabated data. And I always agree on fading Halliburton too. So, hey, I'll take it. Yusuf Nurkic under 19.5 PRAs, 11.7% EV on FanDuel. Good to go on PrizePicks, Underdog, and DraftKings as well, but does look the best with 11.7% EV for Nurkic under 19.5 PRAs. Aaron Gordon over 22.5 PRAs for him, 9.7% EV on DraftKings Sportsbook. You don't want it on FanDuel, but you can take Aaron Gordon's over on PRAs as well on PrizePicks and Underdog, where it's over 22.5 PRAs on there as well. And Christian Brown under 21.5 PRAs, minus 105 odds on DraftKings look the best, and you can't really play it anywhere else. Yeah, you got enough good bets. Don't play it anywhere else. The IUD mover. I don't know if he's a destroyer. He just shifts it around in a way, which, by the way, that'd be incredibly painful if your IUD shifted around. From what I know of lady parts, that would in fact be incredibly painful experience that nobody would enjoy. So odd thing to bring up in that context as well. Let's run some DFS lines. Let's move some lineups around, like Steve Smith moves IUDs around, and let's go to Stokastic now. There's a deal going right now. So click the link in the description down below. You can get a package of all their data, their tools, whatever you want to get for an NBA package. The rest of this week, it would be $1. So this does nothing for me, to be totally real. I get 50 cents on those conversions. But if you guys get in there, it'll save you a lot of money. And then when you convert to an actual package, if you do that on Friday, they're going to convert you to like a full-time, weekly, or monthly, whatever you put in for. Check it out for yourself. It is a really good deal. The 50 cent or $1 rather. 50 cents for me. $1 for a week of the data for yourself. Check it out. That includes the data stuff. That includes their sim stuff. If you want to take my projections, pay for my projections for the week, and I don't know, put them on Stokastic stuff. That's what I do for myself. But follow your heart here and check it out. It is a really good deal. And you can use it again. Link in the description will take you there. I'll get credit for it. And you can use the welcome back promo code or whatever. It'll give you 50% off. They try to move people who use my conversion thing to that anyway. So but check it out. I didn't promote that on Friday. Some people took advantage of it anyway, but do use it if you want. Now let's run Stokastic data here. You saw what my sim run here, or my projections rather, on Stokastic sim think in terms of exposure. Now we'll see what Stokastic with their updated data thinks of it, because they finally updated here. They want to make my life difficult in the 4 o'clock hour. I would certainly love a big residual check. Where on the lady does the ball sack? Well, I don't even know. What is that sentence? If we do that, then cancel, then re-sign up with Spags. You can just go click the link in the description. You can still do the 50 cent deal. It doesn't matter. As long as you go through my attribution link, it like I think it basically just gives you a cookie, and then that tells them if you sign up at any point over the next month that you came from me. So yeah, link in the description, please check it out. And again, if you want my projections or the data, the same data that you see on screen here, updated throughout the night, you can also get that by joining down below. $5 tier is just a great way to support the show, get you access to VIP Discord. $25 tier, you can actually get the same sheet that I show you here on screen, review your own data here. I update throughout the night. Basically, for the next hour, I'll be on Stokastic. I'll do one update, and that'll be it. But then as I have to do my own lineups, every time I do my own lineups, I put in new data on there. So check it out for yourself, and please buy projections from somebody here, please. Your top lineups right now, according to Stokastic. Number one, a Josh Giddey lineup. As I mentioned, you are always allowed to spend money, Josh. It's when you annoy me and don't spend money. That's the poison combo here. But Josh Giddey, as we talked about, 1.4 fantasy points a minute in court time without Desunu and without Zach LaVine. So Giddey right now in your number one ROI lineup, I would try to play a good amount of Giddey today. Giddey, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre in here, Trenton Watford, Nikola Jokic. They are paying up for Jokic. Isaiah Collier getting that boost for the Utah guys. C. Mikhailiuk. So they gave C. Mikhailiuk the boost that I expected. And also Kyle Filipowski here. So those are your Jazz guys. We're going to hopefully see some more of here. But that's your number one ROI lineup. Number two, James Harden, Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre, Bam Adebayo, Onyeka Okongwu, Isaiah Collier, C. Mikhailiuk, Kyle Filipowski. I have no disagreements with that. Josh Giddey, Anthony Simons, Kelly Oubre, Jeremy Grant, Nikola Vucevic, Keontae George, Andrew Wiggins, and Kyle Filipowski at number 3. Number 4, Tyler Hero, C. Mikhailiuk again, Paul George, Gershon Yabusele, Nick Claxton, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, George Yang, Kyle Filipowski. The Claxton Yabu SGA kind of doesn't really do it for me, but lineup I get. Maxey, Grimes, Wiggins, Watford, Jokic, Kevin Huerter, C. Mikhailiuk, and Filipowski. Look, I said it before, Svi to me is, I think, a stand you should probably try to take as long as he's going to be a starter. Filipowski, I'm less bullish on, but he's going to look fine. They all look good. Except for the $1 thing, you thought it was a month. I mean, look, you're not going to get a month, man, but $1 for a week is still a very good deal, so I would try to take advantage of it. Even for me, you don't get $1 for a week. Like, I think I charge a fairly reasonable rate for, for one, but, you know, like, it's you're not going to get that cheap anywhere else. Onyeka Okongwu, negative 1% ROI is your top ROI guy according to Stokastic of their top 150 lineups. Number 2, Gershon Yabusele, negative 3% ROI there. Kyle Filipowski, number 3 at negative 6%. Nikola Jokic, number 4 at negative 7% ROI. And again, don't worry about the negative numbers. It's about the directional accuracy and who has the highest ROI amidst the group to inform yourself accordingly. Nikola Jokic at number 4 with negative 7. SGA is slightly lower, negative 7 for him at number 5. Quentin Grimes, negative 8%. As I mentioned, Grimes is like really good leverage against Oubre, and he's been a better producer in pretty much every way than Oubre this year. So Quentin Grimes, I strongly agree with. And C. Mikhailiuk, that was the first take I had here, and he's going to be a splash play of the day. So C. Mikhailiuk here rounding out your top ROI guys. Highest exposure players, going to go through these fast because I got to hop over the deeper dive. Filipowski, 81%, getting 33% leverage on him. Kelly Oubre, 67% of the top 150 Stokastic lineups have him, getting 19% leverage there. Gershon Yabusele, 52% exposure, 32% leverage for Yabusele. They love Yabu. I did not see that coming, but price tag is not bad at 5K. I guess I get it a little bit. Quentin Grimes, you lose a little bit though to having like a guy like Grimes in who takes some stats. That's I think why I'm not getting Yabu as much, but I'll just say that out loud. Quentin Grimes, 42% exposure, 18% positive leverage there. Jokic, 38% exposure in the top 150, so 17% positive leverage there. Sensabaugh, you're basically flat with the field on at 33%. And C. Mikhailiuk, 30% here compared to 23. That's right, the big hippo. That is Yabu's name because he looks like a very athletic hippo. We got your highest leverage guys, Filipowski, Yabu, the aforementioned big hippo. Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes, Nikola Jokic, Onyeka Okongwu, and Isaiah Collier, your highest leverage guys in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. And your most negative leverage guys, we got James Harden, negative 12%. I'm surprised to see that. KJ Martin, negative 11. A little bit surprised to see that too, to be honest. Cam Johnson, negative 11. Tyrese Maxey, negative 10. Avia, negative 5.5. Vucevic, negative 5. Michael Porter Jr. rounded up negative 5% leverage. That is how Stokastic sees the field today. Guys, I'm going to give you my splash plays for the day, but one last run through here. Stokastic, link in the description. Go get their packages for $1 for the week if you want. Get it on Friday. It'll flip you to a full-time package, but cancel if you need to. Go check it out. Link in the description down below and head over there and check it out for yourself. Unabated, same thing. Link in the description. Get 20% off here. Get the full season for $500, the full rest of the season, including playoffs. Go want to get better at betting? Use great data for it and Unabated. And Underdog, I'll promote them, even though I'm still waiting for them to fucking give me my new deal. $1,000 in bonus cash on Underdog here. It's fucking up at the end of the week. So Underdog, go in now. $1,000 in bonus cash, promo code SPLASH. My splash plays for the day. It's got to be Steve Mikhailiuk, I think, is the one I believe in the most. Besides that, if you can afford Jokic, I'm not going to bitch about going to Jokic here. Does look pretty good to me. Keontae George, he's on the thumbnail for that reason. He's only become a better play as the day goes on. He's another one. Going to my top projected guys overall. James Harden has to be another one for me. Zubac, I think I would put into the group as well. That's probably enough to get you started today. So those are your splash plays for the day. But like, watch out for starters on Utah. Svi looks great. If he doesn't start, though, knock him down accordingly. But I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. Of course, Monday to Friday here at 4 p.m. on Splash Play NBA. Check it out. Subscribe, hit the like button. Gamble responsibly, even though it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play NBA. Back tomorrow with more, guys. I'll see you then. I'll see you on the deeper dive in 3 minutes. Fuck me. Enjoy your days, guys. Good luck. Bye-bye.